Thanks for staying with us. So still celebrating International Women's Day, our next guest is a founder and principal consultant, Lonadec Global Services, a technology and solutions service delivery organization that focuses on human capital and local supply development initiatives. Welcome with us, Dr. Ibilola Amao. Welcome, madam. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Yay, good to have you on the show. So introducing you was a mouthful because obviously you're in the STEM industry. And a lot of women find it difficult to come into that industry. Tell us a bit about the work you've done so far and how you're one of Africa's best mathematicians.
Well, thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm a civil and structural engineer. My doctorate was in computer-aided design and drafting, and then I specialized in 3D modeling of oil and gas facilities. So Lonadec was established in 1991. It will be 30 years in September this year.
Wow!
And we've been involved in democratizing and domesticating engineering technology and innovation solutions. Over the past 30 years, we've trained over 15,000 engineers directly and indirectly, as well as empowered over 100,000 STEM talent. I'm very passionate about girls in STEM and women in entrepreneurship. So apart from working and providing consultancy services in the energy, power, infrastructure, and oil and gas industries, I work a lot with young girls in helping them catch a vision to become leaders in male-dominated sectors. So thanks for having me.
Right. Let me follow up a bit on that, because when we hear STEM, when we hear engineering, civil engineering, it doesn't come across as a sector women are involved in. And in your work, why does it seem today we still don't have the results of quite a number of women in that sector? Is there a break in communication, or is that like we don't have the right facility or technological capacity to actually engage these women? What do you think is the reason why today we don't see the fruits of the labor of many of people like you, of yourselves, for the past years?
Thank you so much for that fantastic question. There's so many dimensions to that question. First, to encourage the girl child to study maths, physics, chemistry, and information technology is sometimes a challenge because most of the teachers in that space are male. And a lot of mothers do not feel comfortable having their daughters stay behind after-school programs to interact with a lot of male teachers and male colleagues. So we need to get more female maths, physics, and chemistry teachers into the higher learning educational system, as well as even in the senior secondary school. So Lonadec at the moment is working very hard to get more female STEM teachers, because for you to get science, technology, engineering, and maths graduates, you need to catch them young from SS1 to SS3. They must be career counseled to go into those areas, because there are a lot of boys in that area. So a lot of mothers don't want their girls in that space. So we need to also educate the parents. It's not a bad thing for a girl to stay behind after school if she's scientifically oriented. And even if her maths teacher is a male, I mean, it's not a bad thing as long as she's focused. So we have to address the cultural and environmental issues. Parents need to be educated. We need to have more female maths, physics, and chemistry teachers. And we need to also encourage male maths, physics, and chemistry teachers to be disciplined in the way they encourage young girls to come into the STEM field. Then going to university, I was obviously a minority. In Queen Mary College, University of London, we're only 2 female civil and structural engineers in a class of 50. That was in 1982-85. But you see, they're he for she's are male lecturers who understand that it's tough for a young lady to be in a male-dominated class. So, I mean, we also need he for she lecturers. Even in A-levels and senior secondary school, we also need he for she teachers. Then when you come to the graduation, after graduation, I mean, there are different attractions for females. I mean, if you're not more of a tomboy, or if you're not somebody who is bold, courageous, and daring, you may get cowered, because a lot of male colleagues try and discriminate, not because they're biased particularly, but because they don't think women can do the things men do. And then when you get married and start having children, you really need a very good support system to ensure that you're able to deliver at par.
Right.
And then you also need to be in a very strong learning mode to be able to compete with your male colleagues.
Right.
I think becoming a leader in, yeah?
Okay,
I want to get a few more
Becoming
questions for you.
Today is International Women's Day, and obviously the theme for this year is Choose to Challenge. We sort of have an idea of what you'll be choosing to challenge, but I still want you to tell us clearly, what do you choose to challenge in 2021 International Women's Day?
I choose to challenge the dearth of female leaders in STEM-focused industries. We don't have enough female leaders in the energy, power, infrastructure, and oil and gas industries. And even in the entrepreneurship side of things, we don't have enough females running businesses in those areas. So those are the areas where I choose to challenge. Right. And that's really what my life is about.
Right. Okay, so I would have asked you the numbers you mentioned, having trained over 100,000, the ratio of men to women, but you sort of answered that question that we do not have enough women. So I want to ask, I noticed that the young men and the young women of these days like to be trendy. They want to be glamorous. They think that the people in the arts are more, you know, out there, more interesting. And so it sort of discourages them from getting into STEM. That's because they do not see models, women models in STEM who are actually trendy and look like what they want to be. So what are you people doing something about, you know, projecting STEM that you can be a science student and be, you know, be on point? I don't know if you get me, ma.
Thank you so much. I think it's a misconception that you have to be macho, male, and on-trendy as a STEM product, as a female STEM product. To be a STEM product, you could either be somebody who is outdoor or indoor. So outdoor engineers spend time in the field and on site, and they are geared up in PPEs, as well as probably a hard hat. And I mean, they need to look like the boys out there to be safe in the execution of their roles. But that's a fraction of the percentage of the time they are actually working. And obviously, you would also be a wife, a mother, a sister, and you'd probably have a social life. I mean, so there's a work-life balance side of things. And then you could also be a design office engineer, whereby you don't even go out much. And then there are different aspects and dimensions of engineering. For example, you could be a project manager. You could also be somebody in cost engineering. You could be an HSC person. So I think the fact is we haven't educated people enough. We haven't promoted females in STEM leadership enough. And the male chauvinist press, as well as publicity that is out there, puts a lot of young girls off. There are very many trendy engineers, and most times you see an engineer dressed up at a weekend or at home or at a party, and she doesn't look anything like an engineer. Right. It's only when she's wearing a hard hat. Only when she's wearing a hard hat and wearing a PPE.
Right.
Yeah. So I have a concern really, because you know the world is advancing quite fast towards the digital age. And I have a fear that Nigeria particularly, is being left behind. So we're struggling with even just giving our children, especially our girls, basic education. I mean, the number in the north of the number of out-of-school children, and especially girls, you know, is quite overwhelming. And I wonder, having challenges you know, getting them basic education. In what way? How can we, one person to another, you know, without government or anything, how can we help sort of even bridge the gap, the STEM gap with these disenfranchised kids?
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. There's a pilot program going on at the moment with LASRIC, where we're digitally upskilling teachers at the moment. So Lonadec and the Cedar STEM and Entrepreneurship Hub is training in a pilot program, 60 STEM teachers, digitally upskilling them. And then there's also the Microsoft LinkedIn GitHub free empowerment program, where we could actually empower young girls as well as teachers to be digitally upskilled. Since the pandemic started last year, we've actually begun to look at remote work and virtual work. So the need to digitally upskill our girls is so critical, because during your childbearing years, you should be able to decide if you want to work from home or work from anywhere. So I think now we're beginning to see that we have to lay an emphasis on digitally upskilling our girls in schools, our females at work, so that they have a choice to work from anywhere or work from home. So that's a very good valid point. We need to digitally upskill females because it puts them in an advantage when they have to work from home. Thank you.
All right, let's bring this conversation to a baseline conversation where people at home can actually understand the benefits of STEM in the communities. Many people would like to encourage their children in engineering, but they don't see why. The arts are today the popular things, music, fashion, lifestyle. That's where the money is. People are seeing people being successful in these sectors. Could you tell us the advantages of encouraging young girls into STEM? What is that end result we seek to achieve so that parents who are watching today can understand how important it is to encourage their children in STEM?
Yeah, I'd like to take it from the perspective of accelerating the attainment of sustainable development goals. Between 3.5 to 4.4 billion dollars is going to be spent in the next 10 years to achieve the sustainable development goals. And at least 60% of it will be expended in science, technology, engineering, and maths. And in some cases, up to 80%. So if you look at the statistics of these amounts of money that will be spent, it makes sense, honestly, to have people dive into and engage in science, technology, engineering, and maths. With the 5G being rolled out in the near future and things being digitized vis-a-vis the post-pandemic era, we really need to get more girls involved in STEM. So it's a no-brainer. I mean, arts is very important. Arts is a very good side of the flip side of the coin in STEM, but we also need to look at the digital advancement ongoing globally and how we can plug into the advantages that comes with sustainable development goals attainments and the transition that is going on, the digital transformation that is going on as we speak.
Right.
Okay, so if we're driving this push to be contemporary in terms of STEM, especially for the girl child and for women, I'd like you to address the fact that our educational sector is still light years behind what is contemporary. Our average curriculum is still teaching things that were taught in the same thing that I was taught, that people were taught in 1980-something, 1990-something. We're still teaching that same system now when there should have been a major rejig, considering that technology has moved away from the kind of things we are teaching tech-wise in our schools. What are you doing to influence curriculum change in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm an advocate for bridging the gap between industry and academia. Yeah. I also believe very firmly that skills development and acquisition is critical to create value in one's community. So there's a need for public-private partnership, and there's a need for us to look at the needs, the specific skills gaps that we need to drive our economy, to take full advantage of our natural resources and mineral resources in a nation like Nigeria. We really need to rejig our curriculum to ensure that we're not just exporting raw materials and our resources that have not been processed, but we develop the skills, competencies, capacity, and capability to ensure that we're able to process and harness the full value of our mineral and natural resources so that we're exporting finished products and we're creating jobs and wealth in Nigeria. To do that, we really need to change the curriculum, upgrade the curriculum so that we're a process technology-driven economy as opposed to exporting raw materials and crude resources and paying a lot of money to import finished products. So you're very correct.
Yeah, okay, Ma. Are you there?
Private partnerships.
Oh, she's still talking. Are you there,
Okay,
Ma?
it's frozen, I think. Let's go on a quick break. I think we're having some technology issues.
The irony.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Dr. Amao, are you still there?
Thank you so much.
Yes,
and thanks
yes.
for having me back.
All right, so BC had a question.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Dr. Ibilola, you know, reading about you, I realized that your father noticed you had a love for science and math and then encouraged you in that line. But there are a lot of young girls out there who do not have parents to notice what they like. They are not in a space where they are even able to afford education. Now, what are some of the things you think we all can do to identify and support STEM?
Okay, thank you so much. I think if you notice there's a young girl that has a very curious mind, somebody who asks a lot of questions, somebody who likes to fix things, and somebody who is courageous about converting problems into solutions, then you really need to encourage her to think in the line of STEM. And this doesn't have to be you could actually have somebody who loves computers and is information technology driven or focused. And it could be somebody who plays Legos or fixes radios or telephones or can fix the television when it's not working or something. So you can see that that person probably is a mechanical or electrical engineering driven or focused person. So I think we need to study our young children more and appreciate their innate talents and passions, and then begin to career counsel them in the right way. And then we shouldn't restrict girls to the more feminine careers, because sometimes some girls are just wired to be problem solvers, and problem solving really is all about engineering and STEM.
Yeah. So, Dr. Amao, there's something quite striking about your, biography, which is that at age 20, you went ahead to study for a PhD. And many people at that age are trying to figure out what to do, where to go. Would you attribute that to your father's support, or that you're just the sort of child that knew where you were headed and what you wanted?
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I'm a problem solver by nature. I love to identify problems and convert them into initiatives, solutions, opportunities, what have you. So because I'm a maths and physics oriented person, when I finished my first degree, I got a first class. And in England, you don't need to do a master's if you have a first class. You can go on to undertake a PhD. And then I had a conversation with my late father and said I preferred to go for a PhD as opposed to a master's. And he said, go ahead. And that's exactly what I did at 20. But I would say my father was always there to encourage me. And I mean, for girls who don't have a father who is an engineer, I think they would also find uncles, cousins, and even aunties who are engineers. So you have to seek out for people who are wired in the way you would like to be wired. And this is where looking out for role models and mentors is so important.
Okay, so I wanted to, obviously, you've mentioned over and over again the importance of he for she when it comes to lecturers. And now you mentioned having role models, because most of the time the established authorities in STEM are men. So if we want to have more women thrive in that space, it would benefit from having support of men. How are you pushing for established women in the industry and even for men? Because you are among the, you are among the top mathematicians in Africa. How are you pushing for men in your space to take ownership of bringing women up within that same space?
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have a lot of women initiatives in Nigeria, for example. There's the Women in Energy Network, there's the WIMBIs, there's the Commonwealth Business Women's Network, there's We Connect, and then there's the oil and gas. There's associations that actually encourage females. So I honestly think an association for professional women engineers in Nigeria. So I think that these initiatives are currently working on girls in STEM initiatives and Catch Them Young initiatives. So it's a matter of getting the kind of publicity that would also get the young girls to know which associations exist that actually provide the platforms for them to improve in their development as well as chart a career in male-dominated spaces. We also have men who are he for she's in the energy, power, infrastructure, oil and gas industry. And I also think that the schools and the universities have to forge relationships with not just companies, but also such associations to bridge the gap.
All right, have there been any, could you, now I'm going a bit personal because I wanted to know if you've had any experiences where your capacity and your competence have been challenged and you had to stand up for yourself in this sector especially.
Okay, yeah, I think I mentioned that when I moved from Nigeria to England to a boarding school when I was 15, I had a maths teacher. In Nigeria, we were studying traditional maths. And when I moved to a boarding school in England, it was modern maths. And I was a bit confused about this transition. And I needed support from my maths teacher, who was a man. And he just didn't have the time for me. He just told me he wasn't prepared to spend or waste his time with me because he obviously thought a Nigerian girl coming from Nigeria didn't know anything. And that I was going to end up as a housewife in Nigeria, so he didn't quite have the time, and he was more interested in the boys. And I had to really work very hard on my own to catch up with the class and minimize my need for his support. And I was quite grateful after I got an A in my maths because I'd done a lot of hard work. And I would like to encourage young girls that they shouldn't be disturbed or discouraged by male teachers who don't seem to have the time for them or who discriminate against them, that we will always face discrimination as women in the minority in STEM-focused environments, but we should never give up. We should do the extra work, be very diligent and hardworking, and God will obviously make us successful at the end of the day. Okay, so sometimes you're faced with challenges and discrimination, but we really need to work hard enough.
Let me get one final question for you.
Dr. Ibilola, your Vision 2020 is all about empowering women, young girls in STEM. And I know that you have offices where they can go after work and handle technology, and handle technology. Now, how can parents who are interested in getting their wards registered with you, how do they go about it? Is it everywhere in Nigeria as we speak, or just in that organization?
Okay, then we are currently on Facebook, Women and Girls in STEM Africa, and we have the CEDA STEM and Entrepreneurship Hub in Yaba, in our office in Jibo, and then we're online. We're currently empowering about 7,000 people online on an online platform. I'm sure I'll pass the information on to you so that anybody who who are interested in this can access free materials.
All right, let me take a few tweets before you run off. Yeah, okay.
Bilikis Bukola rather said, everything today stands for is really worth it. But as women, we must start loving, helping, supporting, defending our fellow women. Challenge status quo. Some women still use their fellow women simply because they are high above. Charity will begin with us. God bless women. Organizer says, I choose to challenge the ill treatment of women in the hands of their in-laws. Jide Baj says, I must say, ladies on set are the most talented women that have ever graced the planet called Earth. I love your bravery, tenacity, and the values you uphold strongly as women.
Thank you.
Happy International Women's Day to you all. Without you ladies, the world would be so boring to live in. I had to read that. I just had to read that.
I thank you very much, Dr. Ibilola Amao, for joining us this morning. We appreciate you greatly. And congratulations on what you do. And we just hope for the best, that more young girls can take advantage of your services and participate in the STEM sector. Thank you very much, madam, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right. So, ladies, we're about to wrap up the show. As we run off, and I'd like you just to give a one-sentence message to every young girl out there, because today is International Women's Day, and we've been talking about our challenges, but just give one final advice to women before we wrap up. Would you like to go?
As a woman,
yes,
you should know that you are capable of more.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it would be that do not be afraid. And if you're afraid, do it afraid.
I love that. For me, I would say that don't shrink back. As women, we're visible, don't shrink back. Show off everything you're capable of doing and announce it to the world. The world would accept you if you accept yourself. So start by accepting yourself.
Oh, fantastic. I love that one.
Lovely.
And I would like to go with what Nima said. If you have the capacity to earn it, you have the same capacity to own it. What you earn, you can own. And you should be allowed to. That's all we can take on the show. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.